What's up, my brothers and my sisters from another mister. Now, if you read the recent Batman Spawn crossover that came out in December 2022, I'm sure you'll agree that despite being labeled as a one-shot, this was way too convoluted and way too much story just to be a one-shot. It was more like a pilot chapter to an actual serialization, one that spans over multiple releases. Heck, Spawn and Batman don't even have to be the main characters for it to continue. Actually, yes they do. That's the whole point of the crossover. And that's what we'll be talking about in today's video. So what are the chances for this one shot to lead to a sequel or possibly sequels? Well, look, definitely check out my review I did on the comic. I go over the plot and share my fresh thoughts on it all. Just go and give it a watch after you're done with this video. The link will be down in the description. As for this video, we're going to keep things very straightforward. Look, I thought the art and the concept of this crossover was gangster, and the entire premise around Wanda and Martha was pretty cool. And the contrast between Spawn and Batman never gets old after all. Plus, I am biased with the two, though to be fair, they should have put more respect on Batman's father, Thomas Wayne. I'm just saying, man, I'm just putting it out there. But it also leaves much to be desired. The ending was kind of open-ended, and the entire comic felt way too incomplete for something that was supposed to be the biggest comic book release of 2022. I mean, it had been almost 30 years of anticipation and build-up, and in case you don't know, this was actually a third Batman Spawn sequel. The other two came around 30 years ago back in 1994. The first one was titled Batman Spawn War Devil #1. It is the one where Batman and Spawn team up to stop the Croatoan, you know, the classic Spawn villain. Shortly after, Frank Miller and Todd McFarlane teamed up to bring us Spawn Batman #1. I might have got those two reversed, but it's Batman Spawn #1. The one with the Frank Miller art. You know, Frank is the one who did the writing while McFarlane was the artist. This was also back in 1994. Following this, Todd McFarlane made plans with Greg Capullo for a comic called Batman Spawn Inner Demons in 2006, but it was never released. Which means that even though not many people are talking about it, just looking at how long it has been, this recent Batman Spawn crossover is a pretty big freaking deal. Not to mention, it was written by Todd McFarlane and penciled by Greg Capullo, the same two guys who were planning on releasing another one in 2006. Yep, that's right. A Batman Spawn crossover is rarer than a recession. Anyways, we ain't gonna talk about no damn recession.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Also, the other two crossovers never received a crossover either. They were also released under the issue #1 banner, but we never got anything more from them. Which goes without saying, since they were all one-shots, but maybe there is hope this time around, and I'll tell you why. Because the man who wrote the story, Todd McFarlane, stated in an interview during Comic Pop that if this comic does well, there could be a sequel. Way to make my balls tingle. Which explains why the ending feels like a sequel bait. However, another thing Todd has previously mentioned is that he asked the artist Greg Capullo what he wanted to draw and then based the story around Greg's vision. Which could explain why things felt so grandiose despite this being such a short story. There were more macro narrative elements than micro. Still, what makes me feel positive about the sequel is how these two had plans to release a Batman Spawn crossover in 2006 too. Yes, it took them a few more years to finally get around to it, and by a few years I mean 1.5 freaking decades, but the emotional investment seems to be there though. But it can go both ways considering how Todd didn't start off with his own vision. He started off with Greg. He started off with what Greg wanted to draw as the foundation of their story. This could also be why many fans have called it that this was an art first, story second kind of comic. Seriously though, the art is phenomenal. I mean, I felt my eyesight getting an optic hand job looking at those glorious and vibrant pages. But anyways, anyone can tell that Greg really put himself on those pages. Next, let's talk about the possibilities. If we do get a sequel, what could it be? Where could the story go from here? And because of McFarlane's words, this is just the tip of the iceberg. It does make me wonder though, what if instead of Batman Spawn, McFarlane and Capullo decided to do a Joker and Clown / Violator crossover next? This was a CBR exclusive interview I came across online. Yes guys, I know CBR is not that guy, but we're just quoting McFarlane here. When asked about the ending panel of the Violator exclaiming that everything is working exactly as planned and whether this hints at a possible sequel, McFarlane gave somewhat of a comical answer. What? You're saying that these guys might get back together? And if they do, you've got these two crazy guys that are part of the story, and by the way, Greg Capullo draws his ass off on both of them? I'm in, right? I mean, I'd be in. If I'm being honest with you, look, in my opinion, I don't think McFarlane has planned anything beyond this, but it's still easy for him or any other writer to continue because the foundation is there. It all comes down to how there could or there could not be a sequel. It doesn't even have to be McFarlane. Another writer could possibly pick up the story from this point forward and see if they can make it work. Sean Lewis, who's been writing the Kingspawn storylines, has been doing a gangster job so far in my opinion. Or should I say to sequel or not to sequel? Yep, that's the question. As you guys know, I personally enjoyed the issue. Crossovers between two franchises are hardly ever about anything super well written or complex. It's mostly just what if scenarios and cool action. Be it the American comics medium, the Japanese manga medium, or the Korean webtoon medium, crossovers are just a fun joyride more than anything else. And unless the crossover is pretty chill, the ending or the climax as you may call it, hey, the climax, is open-ended as well. One cannot tell a lot of a story in a one shot after all. It's just a one shot. We want more. Why? Because we hungry like that. It has already been 3 months since it was released and we haven't heard any update or news about a sequel. Not even a follow-up statement, which means the chances are grim, but yet we are still hopeful. However, as we talked about before, this is a good opportunity to make a crossover between the Joker and the Clown/Violator that can go places. And by the way, don't forget to check out RatedComics.com to add some really cool comic books and or some Rated Comics exclusives to your comic book collection. Also, this video is sponsored by coffee, so if you'd like to buy your boy a cup of coffee, link in the description or donate to the super thanks. But the greatest compliment you guys can do is by liking this video and subscribing to Rated Comics YouTube channel. Here at Rated Comics, do awesome comic book reviews, comic book related content, especially Spawn, with the occasional comic book giveaway. Thank you again for watching. Until next time.